Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Two Schmoes Show. I'm Mr. Ryan, and Kyril told me he needs to be out of here in like 2.5 hours. So here's a 2 and 29 minute bass solo. 2 hours and 29 minute bass solo. I could literally do this for 2 hours, Kyril.
No, I only 1 minute is all the time we need to go through an Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny review. So go for it.
Okay, I'm out of ideas.
I'll say though, it made me realize because watching some old Donkey videos today, how excellent Nintendo is with their music. They really don't miss.
Have you ever heard the jazz community's like argument about how Nintendo has influenced jazz throughout the last 20 years?
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. Like Nintendo jazz is like it's both like an insult I've heard people say and a compliment I've heard people say.
I mean, it's a bop, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
You can't listen to it and be and think it's not bad, right?
Yeah.
It's like pop music. It's generic and you don't want to listen to it all the time because it's kind of cheap, but it works.
No, I totally agree. I am of the opinion that video game music has a certain place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just a guy who listens to a lot of music and plays a lot of music. Um, what do I know? All music in my eyes should always go on an emotional journey through an emotional through line. There is an
Mm-hmm.
emotional narrative to music that, while it's not as concrete as like a traditional narrative, like a story,
Mm-hmm.
all music should go through that. And I think with video game music, it's very interesting because a lot of video games have to have that element of repetition just because
Mm-hmm.
you have to factor in the player's time. A piece of video game music doesn't have to have a concrete meter or length to establish, what is the piece because a lot of that is influenced by the player themselves. It's a piece of
Mm-hmm.
music that is out of the musician's hand. So repetition is really the only way around that.
Yep.
So how do you fit those narrative emotions into old Pokemon music, right? They only had like 15
Mm-hmm.
seconds to write a
Yeah,
jingle for
yeah.
every town. So repetition is absolutely like key in that case. And I find that so fascinating about video game composers. Now it's not as strict as it was, but like
Mm-hmm.
go to those old Junichi Masuda like Pokemon tunes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always impressed by them. I really love that that could happen. It's a style of music I think
Yeah.
even though it's influenced jazz, I think there's something to be learned there.
Interestingly, I was gonna bring up Pokemon too, because I was gonna say that like the one good thing to come out of the new era of Pokemon games
Yeah.
is how unrestricted they are now with their music and how much experimentation that they can do in like in keeping the Pokemon identity, right? Like there's a lot of songs from video game music that you can hear and be like, oh yeah, that's a Pokemon song, even if you don't know exactly where it's from. They have a really distinct style, and seeing them continue with that and carry that over into modern video games with modern musical techniques has been really cool,
Mm-hmm.
even if the games are a bit disappointing for me.
I would say it's one of the greatest strengths of underrated strengths of like the whole franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like you said, Nintendo in general, like
Oh yeah.
the fact that you can name Nintendo composers is like a big thing, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
against a lot of other video game composers. The
Yeah.
only person I can think of that really outshines them is that one lady that works at Square Enix. She did the music for
Oh yeah.
Octopath. Let me try finding her.
I was gonna make note of the composer for Destiny as well, because the Michael Salvatore, Martin O'Donnell sort of collaboration on that has kind of set the bar for what mainstream video game music should be good enough as, and a lot of people have started to follow suit, and it's pretty, in hindsight it's less impressive, but to compare where the industry was at that time, what Bungie has done starting with Halo and moving into Destiny has really pushed like that big orchestral style
Hmm.
very well, very effectively.
Yoko Shinomura. That's
Mm.
it. Yoko Shinomura, I'm considering the greatest video game composer of this era.
Hmm.
Um, One of the things I really like about this composer, they did the Kingdom Hearts music,
Yeah.
and somehow they managed to make it sound like both a Final Fantasy RPG and a Disney property in that music. And that
Hmm.
I cannot see how anybody could do that. And I'm very impressed with that. Oh shit, they also did Street Fighter 2. That's respectable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Street Fighter and games have remarkable soundtracks and scores.
I will agree to that as well. Man, can we just like talk about movies and music and just ignore what fucking happened last week?
I would love to. I do want to mention really quick so we can point and laugh at Elon Musk because it's been a bit depressed. Like it's like one part depressing and two parts hilarious. Where in the span of a week, um, Twitter failed to pay Google for their server usage and got kicked off of it. As a result, requiring people to start being rate limited because the servers they had left couldn't handle their normal traffic. Then Facebook goes and launches their own Twitter competitor that Twitter gets salty over and sues them, claiming that they stole their copyright. And Facebook's response is, "We don't even have any of your engineers working on this." And like for me, the cherry on top, they started working on it in January. In 7 months, not even 7 months, 6 months from scratch, they built a Twitter competitor that is like, by all accounts, fine. Like, if you don't care that it's owned by Meta, it's probably the best alternative out there.
You know, honestly, Twitter as a social media isn't that impressive. It's a
No,
lot of compression
it's
and like
really not.
threads. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. Like the most resonant tweet that I saw is that somebody was just like, all that everybody wants is Twitter circa like 2019, and nobody wants to supply it.
Yeah. Well,
That's all I want.
yeah, I know. It's
Just a place for people to hype up stupid short messages, post a picture or two, and that's fucking it.
yeah. But here's the thing. How do you monetize that, Mr. Kyril?
It's the internet. You fucking don't.
Then what are we doing on here if we can't make a money?
God forbid we just care about the preservation of culture and ideas.
The humanities is a dumpster ground. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, not wrong.
Hey, 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 hey. I have an arts degree. I'm allowed to say that. You cannot say that.
So yeah,
Fuck.
Facebook has Threads, which there's like five other apps with the exact fucking same name because of course there is. It's so generic, but Meta Threads, it's tied in with Instagram and it exists.
Could you imagine if we had the Mark Zuckerberg and Elon fight? Zuckerberg like pounds his
I
ass into the
wish.
ground, and then he gets the microphone and then announces threads.
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
Honestly, I'd want to say that's probably what was planned. If
I
it,
wish. You know, that would have been the best E3 ever.
yes. God, I'm really upset with Elon's mommy for pulling the plug
Mhm.
on that.
That would have been amazing. It never would have happened. He would have found he would have found any reason to drop out that he could. It's a
I've
little
got a sore
slimy
stomach.
worm, but it would have been great.
So what's the basis of like the whole lawsuit
Oh,
on
nothing.
Thread? Yeah, exactly. Like, how do you
It,
copyright a
it
system
is
like that?
Twitter laid off like half of their workforce last year, right?
Yeah.
Some of those people now work at Facebook because Facebook is a profitable company that is looking to expand, sort of. Um, Facebook, Meta, I guess is what it'd be. Meta is now launched their Twitter competitor, and Elon Musk is salty about it. But
Boo
there's no
hoo.
basis in it.
Yeah.
It's even if the ex Twitter employees were working on this project, they would have to prove that like the underlying code is the same, and it's obviously not.
No, one works and the other has to do rate limitations to make sure it works properly.
I'll say, uh, credit where it's not due, right? Threads is still very bare bone. You can't, because it's a meta product. There is no chronological view. And
That's
that's the
lame.
big thing. That's the big thing that will stop me from ever using it. They say that they're going to do that eventually, but I don't want to see promoted guff from brand accounts and nothing else. There's a really emblematic picture that I saw somebody sharing around that had like the first thing that they saw when they logged into Threads, and it is the Backstreet Boys. Oh my God, we're back at that. McDonald's, hi from Grimace, say it back, please. Ellen DeGeneres, welcome to gay Twitter. Netflix, Threads is kind of like Love is, it's all branded shit getting shoved in your face because it's a meta product, and that's how they make their money.
Oh my god, it's brand Twitter without the without the
So
memes.
until they're able to do something like that, I've got no interest in it. I will probably start to check out if I can get a Blue Sky invite. I think from what I've heard, that's actually like the real Twitter competitor or the real Twitter alternative that people want. It's
Yeah,
just very limited.
I've heard various things about Blue Sky, and obviously it being a newer
Yeah.
platform, that's why they got to do the limited like users
Yep.
at the moment.
Um, what was it? There's a streaming troop, Loading Ready Run, that I followed that was also talking about they're using Mastodon much more lately. So I'll probably check that out now that there's sort of like, you have to have that kind of an in, right? Where
Yeah,
there's some degree of familiarity to start from. And I guess that's something to credit Metaphor is that because Threads is tied in with Instagram so tightly, it like from day one starts you off if you use Instagram with the list of people that you already follow. So it's sort of personalized a bit for you to start off with. You don't have to wait and wade through like the what do you like kind of BS thing at the start.
that's the scary part about starting any social media platform is you
Mm-hmm.
need that like base of bringing the interest. Honestly, like social media like Twitter, I'm impressed even got off the floor to begin with.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is just by being first.
Yeah,
You know,
it is.
they got lucky.
Not until the South African billionaire found them.
And then it's been downhill ever since.
My favorite thing to do to my friends lately is when they send me tweets of like memes and whatnot, I'll
Mm-hmm.
try to guilt trip them into not sending me that shit and say like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, this is my 599th tweet for the day. I need you to make sure this is fire, or else you're literally going to ruin my day.
Have you actually been seeing the rate limiting?
No,
I'm just
because
curious.
honestly, my Twitter use has
Mm-hmm.
been going down a lot lately.
Mine too, but I don't use it infrequently, and I haven't seen anything yet. So I'm wondering, where and what the cutoff is, how it tracks it, stuff like that. Because I
Yeah,
know, and depending on what gets counted, it can be pretty um, egregious at times. But it seems like the way that they counted it for the like average person, they probably didn't even fucking notice. Right? If I didn't see people talking about it, I wouldn't have. I never got an error or anything.
my favorite thing is people like getting the spam bots on people's tweets to like kick out their rate limit already.
Mm.
So they'll like just put in like write my essay. I wish this
Yep.
was a shirt. Blah 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 blah, and then like
That's
all
funny.
those spam bots just like flock to it.
That's good. There's also the anime profile pic dev that managed to make a better Twitter within like an hour.
I respect it.
of
You know,
Yeah, there is untapped power amongst the terminally online denizens of the internet.
really, it's like that's the only reason Reddit is approaching being public is because they found a way to tap into that power.
Hmm.
Although that might not work out for them in the end,
Yeah, they've been having some bullshit going on. It's very frustrating
isn't it?
how I've been following the very loosely I think it's on our picks
Oh yeah.
where they've been they had the only John Oliver stuff. They set the subreddit to be not safe for work because that prevents ads from being run on it.
Okay.
And then a couple of other things. They went and they had polls amongst their users of like, do we want to be considered not safe for work now? Yes or no? And there was overwhelmingly yes. Do we want to shut down? That was how the John Oliver thing started. That was the compromise between shutting down entirely and staying open. Was okay, we stay open, but only John Oliver. But all of this has been going through polls conducted of their users. And Reddit doesn't care. They are still threatening to remove the moderators from the mod team and force the subreddit to open. It's just disappointing.
This show stands in solidarity with the r/pix
Mm-hmm.
mods.
Yeah. I'll also say though, as a result of the blackout, I haven't stopped using Reddit, but I use it a hell of a lot less.
Oh yeah. It's really weird how I feel like I've been more productive lately. Like, to give y'all an idea, I managed to beat all 152 shrines in Tears of the Kingdom.
Nice.
Yeah,
Did you like the bonus at the end?
it creeped me out a lot. Like I was
It's a bit uncanny. I like the idea, but it is a bit uncanny.
I love the lore behind it, but like
Mm-hmm.
looking at it for the first time when I'm sleep deprived at like midnight, that is not something I would wish on my worst enemy. Like I shit you not.
Yeah.
This is how much of a paranoid motherfucker I am. I was going downstairs to get some water. I'm home alone. It's totally quiet, and all I got is like this image of the hero's aspect from fucking Tears of the Kingdom stuck in my head. So every time I look into like a dark corner of my kitchen, all I see is it, and I'm like, oh
Nice.
hell no, and start like
Very
running.
nice.
I have problems.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that I could beat a 300-hour experience in 90 hours just
Mhm.
proves I'm more productive all of a sudden.
Maximum efficiency.
Maximum fucking efficiency. What about you? Have you noticed anything like that?
Not especially so. Um, I've been just kind of busy the last couple of weeks, honestly, in
Oh, fair.
general. But yeah, went and did an IKEA run like the good white boy I am. So
At least you're aware. You're a white boy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I just, if you need a bookshelf, it is regrettably kind of the only place to go where you're gonna get your money's worth.
You could order off Amazon.
Oh, I have. They're garbage.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. Oh, man, you pay like half as much, but it's flimsy. They're smaller, so you get what you pay for with it, right? And
Okay,
if you
yeah.
need like a good, a piece of furniture that you expect to last a while, it's hard to beat them, unfortunately.
Damn. Did you at least get the Swedish meatballs?
No, I didn't. We realized that like as soon as we got there, it was just like shit. They have a restaurant here. We messed that
Somebody
up.
send help. Damn, dude. I'm so sorry.
Final Fantasy 16 release though.
Oh, holy shit. That's
To
actually
like
out?
Yeah, surprise. It's only on PlayStation right now.
Okay.
But it has been getting phenomenal reviews from what I've heard.
Oh, fuck. I'm so sad. I'm a big
Like
Final Fantasy fan.
one of the best endorsements that I can give for it is that I've seen more than one streamer play through the demo as like a sponsored thing from Square Enix
Yeah.
and then go and buy a copy of the game for themselves so that they can finish it.
I respect that.
Yeah, it's just a good game. And from what I've heard, it's like not especially Final Fantasy E, but it is just a good Japanese RPG all the same.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right
Mm.
now, having kind of done Breath of the and Tears of the Kingdom, I need a break from it. Um, so I started Xenoblade 3, and
Mm.
that is definitely a JRPG fan's JRPG.
Hmm.
However, what I will say is I'm stunned that Monolith Soft was working on that, was helping with the Pokemon games, was helping on Tears of the Kingdom, was helping on several other projects with fucking Nintendo, and then they
Yeah.
somehow made that on top of all that as their main project.
Hmm.
Monolith Soft, heroes of that whole company, I swear to God.
Yeah. Did you hear that we found out this week how much money Meta has made off of Horizon Worlds?
They made money off of Horizon Worlds?
Well, they didn't make a profit.
Let's hear it.
Do you want to take a guess how many dollars they made?
Can I get a rough estimate?
It is three figures.
No.
Yes, less than 1,000.
$750.
Nope, too high.
Oh.
$470, less than the price of a PlayStation 5.
I make more than that a week.
Yeah. You make more in a week than Meta has globally since the launch of Horizon Worlds.
Okay, what's their like monetization in there? Is it just like strictly cosmetics?
Largely, yes. I am honestly not entirely sure, but I believe it is, microtransaction type stuff.
Question. So Horizon
Hmm.
Worlds is entirely like first person viewer stuff, right?
Yep, it's VR, first person VR experiences, I
How
guess
do
the
you
generous way.
sell cosmetics to something people aren't going to be able to see half the time?
Oh, well, it's the same way that like COD does.
Okay.
People are dumb and they buy it anyways. They
Okay.
don't care.
Somehow COD made more money though.
Oh yeah, because we got that leaked this week as well. Because Sony didn't redact their documents well enough.
Oh, are we talking about like that Activision dude like who's in court right now and then like all that shit's been leaking?
I don't know. I think this was part of the Activision, or sorry, the ABK Microsoft merger attempt.
Okay.
Sony had documents that were submitted that were redacted and to like the naked eye were seemingly redacted fine. But when they were scanned, it was found to have been not done properly. And because these documents are, public record, people were able to find, for example, how much revenue Sony received from the most recent Call of Duty game in North America, and it
That's
was
sad.
something like $800 million,
Holy fuck.
which is fucking wild for
Yeah.
like a 6 month old game. No, it's more like almost a year old now. A year old game that they don't actively do anything with. They just sit there and sit as an intermediary between these game shops and the players. And they made that much fucking money off of it.
We're in the wrong business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure seems like it. But it also makes sense why the hell they're pushing back so hard against the ABK merger.
Yeah. That's right.
Um, and there's been some great, like foot and caught in mouth kind of stuff with Microsoft where they're just like, no, we're not gonna take my Call of Duty away from PlayStation. We don't want to be a monopoly. We couldn't even be a monopoly. Big Nintendo's right there. And now we're getting all these internal emails that are, coming out as part of the deposition where it's just like, yeah, get Bethesda, rip that shit away from Sony. We are putting them out of business. Like that kind of messaging. They're very blunt internally about what their objective is.
I love this like culture of professionalism outside the workplace. And then
Mm-hmm.
like once you get in there, they're just like these unhinged fucking like jocks
Mm-hmm.
trying to talk like they're about to take out the rival football team next week for
It is
homecoming.
cutthroat. And the best part is that you have both sides are guilty of this, where Microsoft and PlayStation are like, no, 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 we're not monopolies or duopolies. Nintendo's right there. And then all of their internal messaging, it's just like, yeah, we don't fucking care about Nintendo. Who would care about them?
I care.
So it just confirms what everybody kind of knows, in that Nintendo's off playing their own game, and Microsoft and Sony are the ones actually duking it out.
Well, yeah, like the thing with Nintendo is like they have a target demographic that's so different from Microsoft and Sony, where they're chasing
8 to
after this.
12 and 25 to 45.
Yeah, pretty much. If you are a teenager, that's what Sony and Microsoft are after.
They want your parents' credit card number.
They want your parents' credit card number. And
Damn
if
it,
you
they're
have a
gonna get
credit card number, Nintendo wants your credit card number.
it.
uh, okay.
Yeah. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Dial.
Do you care about spoilers?
Full disclosure, right?
Okay.
Never seen an Indiana Jones movie.
Hmm, interesting. I'll say the Raiders is an all-time classic and is well worth the watch.
Okay.
The rest are, you know, take them or leave them. But Raiders in particular is, you know, it spawned a 5 movie franchise across 40 years for a reason.
Noted.
Um, and the general vibe of just Harrison Ford punching Nazis is pretty hard to beat.
You know, you're right.
Yeah.
Very
It's
few people could probably beat that.
it's good. And in Dial of Destiny, one of my favorite parts. Well, let's get the negative stuff out of the way first, right?
Okay.
This movie is too long. It is 2 hours and 24 minutes, and that is about 40 minutes longer than any Indiana Jones movie needs to be, and it kind of feels like it. That's like the greatest sin that this movie does is just staying around for too long. Take like 5 or 10 minutes out of almost every action sequence, and it's immediately better. But it's kind of whatever, right? That's just modern action films are long now, so they have to do it too.
So correct me if I'm wrong. This is the first one without Spielberg, right?
I believe that is true.
Damn.
Yeah, James Mangold directed it.
Okay. Okay. Um, what is your
Though
opinion? Okay, sorry.
I
Before we
was
go
gonna say
on,
I'll point out Spielberg did do the fourth one, and the general consensus on that is pretty well known.
I was about to say, what are your thoughts of Spielberg as a director? Because out of like all my
Yeah,
friends, when we talk about movies and shit, no one ever brings up Spielberg. Because I think it's just he's too common of a household name, and not many
he
people
really is.
associate like an artistic style to him. Even though I do agree he has one.
You know, he's obviously incredibly talented, right?
Yes.
I don't think anybody can deny that, but he's not infallible, particularly on the writing side. You know, credit where it's due in the fourth movie, the direction, particularly in the action sequences, is excellent. It's just like high level. This script in the third act is bad, and somebody should have stepped in and said, "Don't do this, do something else." And I feel like when you have like the combination of Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, there's just so much seniority there that nobody is willing to step up and say that.
You would argue there's like whole classes of film students, like in the
Mm-hmm.
70s and like 80s,
Yeah.
who were entirely raised to make movies just like those two guys.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. So those two literally are like in the pantheon of American filmmaking gods.
Yeah. Like, I feel like this is why it's easy to forget how many incredible movies that he's done. So, like, just skimming through the Google page here, um, in the first row, we have Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Schindler's List, E.T., and Jurassic Park. In the second row, we get Saving Private Ryan and The Color Purple. There's Close Encounters of the Third Time, Back to the Future, War of the Worlds, The fucking Goonies, Minority Report, Lincoln. Like, there's some less than stellar ones, but it's a damn good CV.
Yes.
I'll say though, to me, this Indiana Jones, even without Spielberg, it felt like a Spielberg Indiana Jones. It
Okay.
is a bit too long, and somebody should have reined it in. But and there's like some digital de-aging stuff that is probably the best I've ever seen. But they didn't do anything to Harrison Ford's voice, so it kind of falls apart there,
Ooh, okay, yeah.
where he still has his old man voice, and it's like, all right, we get it. Um, but it is great popcorn flick kind of energy where you just throw it on and sort of tune out for a few hours, and you don't really care what happens because it's pretty schlocky at times, but that's fine because it has that 80s action movie vibe to it. Like they have a chase in like downtown New York while the Apollo astronauts are on parade. It's very different tonally compared to like the other big action movie that we have this week, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. They could not be further apart from one another.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the best decision in this, and it's really easy to forget that all of the other Indiana Jones movies are set in the years immediately preceding World War II. And this is the only one that is now set after. So all the others are in like the mid to late 30s, and now we have this one that happens in like the 60s ish. So there's a really good aesthetic emblem to that that is very fitting for Indiana Jones, right? Like I feel like if you had Indiana Jones walking around, like I think they go to like Tangiers or something like that, Morocco. They go to Morocco. You know, if you had Indiana Jones walking through a bar in Morocco and half the people were on their cell phones, it would not feel right.
Mm-hmm.
So having it set in the past in this time period that makes sense for even an old Indiana Jones, but for Indiana Jones was a very good decision, and made a lot of sense. They talk about the sort of like aftermath of World War II, and it has the the de-aged introductory sequence is in the middle of World War II, where India is trying to like go and do like sort of monuments men kind of stuff, going behind into German lines to preserve ancient artifacts and architecture and that kind of stuff. It's very fitting for the character. Um, to get into the more spoilery stuff though, um, one of I would have to imagine outside of the digital de-aging, one of the most controversial parts is that they just do whole ass no question about it time travel in the end,
What?
which is kind of a different, like they started to do that throughout the movies, but like if you think about it, in like Raiders of the Lost Ark they're going for the Ark of the Covenant, right? And when they find it, the Nazis open it and it kills all the Nazis. But it's very contained. It's like an event happens, God smites the fucking Nazis, hell yes, and then it gets shoved away in a box for millennia to go. You have Last Crusade where they go and they find the Holy Grail, and the extent of the magic of the Holy Grail is that it cures Indy's father of a gunshot wound by drinking from it. It's very contained. But then in the fourth one, they just have like whole ass aliens. So time travel isn't even like that far out of the realm of absurdity at this point anymore. They jumped that shark in the last movie, but it is very gimmicky and very silly. But it kind of goes like so far over the edge that it loops back around again to like being amusing again, where they go through so the whole idea of it is that Archimedes, the Greek, mathematician, found a way to predict where these time disruptions would occur. And he has like a thematic compass type of thing that he is able to use or that he made, that you put in a time period that you want to go to,
Okay.
and it will give you the coordinates of where a portal will be open to take you there. And you don't really need to know much more than that because it doesn't really matter. But that's like the gist: is he made this thing. It can lead you to where these time portals are. The Nazis in this want to use it in kind of a fun twist to go back to the middle of World War II so that they can kill Hitler earlier before he starts going crazy, and then take over the World War II campaign with somebody more rational in charge, but still very much Nazis.
So they're trying to. I'm sorry. This is that's
Yeah,
hilarious
yeah,
to me.
yeah.
Yeah. That's.
But it's like kind of great.
It makes so much sense, and I hate it for that.
Yeah, it's this not disgraced, but this German scientist, mathematician, who was there through all of World War II, had to watch as Hitler fucked everything up, and, squandered away their resources and lost the war, and he's older, he's bitter, and he wants to go back and kill Hitler so he can do better.
If I was a Nazi, I'd probably feel the same way.
Mm-hmm. So after that, apparently he's also worked with like the U.S. government to like do the moon program or whatever because he was a rocket scientist or something. So there's that sort
Oh,
of angle of it
Operation
too.
Paperclip. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're able to get the dial and they figure out where to go through this time rift to go back to World War II until Indy realizes that when Archimedes made the device, Archimedes would not have been aware of like tectonic plates shifting. So you'd have to account for that when you're inputting into it, or else it's going to give you the wrong output. And they don't believe him at first until it's too late and they get sucked to the portal and they end up in Archimedes' time in the past during the siege of Carthus. And
Okay.
it is so absurd because you have this scene of them in this like World War II era German bomber because they want to blend in when they get to Germany, but it's got like machine guns and shit, and the Romans are like shooting ballista at them because they think it's a dragon, and one of these German guys, like the heavy sort of character, is just machine gunning down fucking Romans with the plane's guns until eventually they crash, and the whole thing is just wildly absurd, but very entertaining because of how dumb it is. And then eventually, they meet Archimedes, and there's the very brief like, oh, we can't stay here, we gotta go. What sort of time travel fuckery is gonna happen? And it ends up being nothing. And then they go home, and that's the end of it. But it's very silly at the end, but in kind of a fun way.
I'm sorry. My mind is blown.
Yeah,
There's a
it
lot
comes
going
out
on
kind of
there.
out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Um, it's the kind of movie that like, if you're not an Indiana Jones or really an action movie fan in general, there's no good reason to see it in theaters. But it's totally, if someone wants to watch it and you're in the room with them, it's fine. You're not going to complain because it's fine. It's
Hmm.
just a dumb kind of schlocky action movie. It's very deserving of its 69% nice rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Does Indy die?
No, it doesn't. There's actually a really kind of I don't want to say touching because that gives it too much credit, but good storyline through it. Where in the fourth movie we're introduced to Indy's son, which is played by Shia LaBeouf, and he they do that adventure there. Shia LaBeouf is obviously not in this movie, and the obvious question is why. And we learn about halfway through that Shia LaBeouf's character, Indy's son, died in World War II,
Oh.
and his death and Indy's kind of not being able to properly, maturely cope with it, in part drove his wife Marion from Raiders of the Lost Ark away, and they ended up splitting as a result of it, where they have this unresolved emotional trauma that neither of them can deal with, and the only way for her to cope is to just remove herself from being around Indy. So they get to the end of the movie where he's been shot at this point. He's just gotten back from fucking time travel. And Marion comes back. And they have a nice moment together at the very end where they're both clearly, in their like 80s now. And it's a very good way to wrap it up where it's just like, yeah, just let Indy and Marion just, be old people together.
It's kind of sweet.
It is. It's done well.
Yeah. So when did Nick Fury show up to recruit him for the Avengers?
Oh, that was after the second post-credits scene.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, by the way, Secret Wars came out. Not Secret Wars, fucking Secret Invasion.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've heard perfectly meh things about it.
Is it 61%? Yeah, I haven't actually heard about it. The most that I heard about it was the dumb intro sequence that it does.
Oh, the AI created one,
Yeah.
which is dumb.
Yep. I don't know. I'll probably see this. I'll see this once I restart my Disney Plus subscription when Loki's out. I'll watch this at the same time. But I don't feel like giving Disney my money until
I look forward to your stunning review.
then. I'm sure, like everything else Marvel related, it's fine.
Isn't it weird? Okay, so like my girlfriend and I were watching Chef the
Mm-hmm.
Show. It's a spin-off of the movie Chef. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It is John Favreau and Roy Choi and Roy
Hmm.
Choi is basically teaching Jon Favreau how to cook. But Jon Favreau brings in celebrity friends, and they show them how to cook too. So like
Hmm.
the first episode is Gwyneth Paltrow, which of course they made some MCU jokes in there, and like Bill Burr. Fucking guess who the second episode is?
After that, I have no idea.
Robert fucking Downey Jr. and Tom
Oh,
Holland.
okay. Oh, interesting.
So
Okay.
yeah, and they also had Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers show up, and it made me realize how it used to be such a more small knit thing in the MCU. Like, because you had like these names that were just expected to be in everything, like Robert Downey Jr. or the Russo brothers, and they're both gone. Feige is dedicated to like a desk worker right now. Tom Holland, he's caught up in the divorce between mom and dad half the time.
Hmm.
So like, I don't know. It just made me realize how much the MCU had changed. Because here you could have Jon Favreau just like pull in like these people just for his little silly show he's doing at the time about learning how to cook. And yeah,
Interesting.
mainly they did just only talk about Marvel shit.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. That's a common, factor between them.
Yeah. It makes me miss the old MCU, which is really weird because like even then it wasn't like that great.
Yeah, I hope that they're starting to get back to that a little bit with just how they're pacing things out.
Honestly, I think we're not going to get much better until like James Gunn starts
Oh,
kicking their asses in the box office.
for sure,
Yeah.
no doubt. Um, but I think just the fact that they have started to stagger their releases gives at least the indication where they know something is wrong and they have to fix it. They're
They
either
also
not
got
getting the money that they were before and they don't like that, or maybe at some level they're also creatively unhappy with the schlock that they're putting out.
Do you remember how the guy who did Quantum Mania was supposed to write Secret Wars, and then like after Quantum Mania came out, they kicked him off?
Is that right?
Yeah,
Oh, right. Secret Wars, not Secret Invasion. Yeah, 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 yeah.
that's just absolutely hilarious to me to think like
Yep.
they just realized how much they
It's
was fucked up.
it's a bad movie. It's not good. I mean, maybe calling it bad is like not fair, but it's on like the Marvel bell curve, right? The bar is higher.
I like
Go
that
if you
term.
want to write a mediocre movie, go to DC.
Even James Gunn might not allow you to stay there anymore.
That's true.
Yeah. Who else? Who's gonna be the next whipping boy around here then?
I have to wait and see. I hope James Gunn turns DC around though.
I genuinely want to give more of a fuck about DC.
Hmm.
Um, growing up, I read a lot of Marvel stuff because that was just the thing I grew up with. So that's just it's like my big blind spot, and like it's like going over to the neighbor's place every once in a while when I watch a DC movie where it's like, what the fuck are you doing over here? You got this? That's so nice. I have something similar to this. It's like going to a friend's house. We have a PlayStation at home and they have an Xbox.
Hmm.
Yeah, the duality of man.
All right. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, Part One. The what is this? This is the number two of our uh three parters that we're getting this year, I think.
We're getting three part and two
Sorry,
parters.
two parters. Yeah, because we had Spider Verse, Dead Reckoning, and then we're getting the second part of Dune.
I did not know that.
I think there's something else, but I can't remember what exactly it is. Let me skim real quick. But I expected for us to talk about Mission Impossible next week, but apparently they did an early screening for like reviewers
Okay.
this past weekend. I've been seeing a lot of people posting, pictures and stuff from like the like not quite red carpet level premiere, um, and it is doing shockingly well. We'll have to see how it tempers out after it gets a wider release, but um, you know, it's a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie, so like Marvel, the bar is pretty fucking high, but currently sitting at a 99% with 157 reviews.
Damn.
It's pretty fucking. That's like one, maybe two negative reviews. That's just pretty crazy numbers.
I've also not seen a Mission Impossible movie.
Hmm, okay.
I hear you
They're
judging me.
incredibly high production value flicks.
Okay.
Um, the fact that Tom Cruise has his whole "I do my own stunts" kind of thing definitely helps lend a unique level of weight to it, where it's really missing with a lot of newer action films. You know, there's so much green screen and so much CGI. Entire sequences, right, in Marvel are completely CG generated. So having a movie where you can watch it and know that if you're seeing a person, that person is actually there doing that thing is pretty cool.
I know there's like that big sequence where Tom Cruise is climbing the world's biggest building.
Mm-hmm.
That's about the most I know from all those movies put together.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, yeah, hard to say much about it because we only have like the generic the IMF team embark on their most dangerous mission. Yeah, interestingly, apparently, the sort of crux of this one is that it's more focused on AI
How
and
topical.
how, yeah, it is. But I have, the plot has never been the point of these movies.
Yeah.
It's what excuse can we have to throw Tom Cruise off of a mountain and do or teach him to fly a helicopter and do the cameras because there's not room for a second person on the set. It's like that kind of shit. I'll also say I'm a huge fan of Simon Pegg. And as long as these movies keep him gainfully employed, I am perfectly happy with that.
Are you planning on seeing this in theaters?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Good shit.
Yep. This, Oppenheimer, and Barbie, ironically, are the next three that I have on my list that I'd like to see. And then it's a bit of a lull until like the fall.
I'm curious on the Barbie movie. I'm not gonna
It
lie.
is either going to be amazing or a gigantic train wreck. And I think it's going to be interesting to see either way.
I think there is so much money in the Barbie movie. Like you've heard that the world went through a shortage of like pink paint because of that movie, right?
Oh, yeah. I believe it.
Yeah. So I need to see the production value of this thing. Out of respect for the art of cinema,
Mm-hmm.
I need to know what did they do with that pink paint.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some mise en scènes in this film, and I need to figure out what is it.
Oh my god, I didn't realize. So you know how they have Will Ferrell playing like the big bad CEO, very reminiscent of when he was Lord Business in the Lego Movie.
Yes,
I didn't realize he was actually playing as the Mattel CEO.
he is.
He is.
That's hilarious.
That's great.
How is
It's
there
shit
not?
like that that just makes me be like, yeah, okay, I want to see this.
How would they do that?
Ryan Gosling is fucking amazing. Margot Robbie is Margot Robbie, kind of hit or miss, but with the right director, she gives phenomenal performances. And then you just have Will Ferrell being like a mustache twirling villain, which is just so fucking perfect for his type of comedy. It's just like, what's not to like?
Honestly, I think that should be the next move in Will Ferrell's career. He needs to be like he needs to stop being the pro tag and go to antag.
Mm-hmm. Also, apparently, Simu Liu plays one of the Kens, and that's fucking hilarious. I
Yes.
want to see Simu Liu Ken just absolutely neg the shit out of Ryan Gosling.
Did they say what the basic plot of the film would be?
So, from what I understand, the idea is that Margot Robbie Barbie is living in the Barbie world and
That's Barbie
is,
Girl.
oh yeah, to some degree curious or unhappy with how things are going and leaves to see what else is out there. Uh,
Interesting. That's good.
Ryan Gosling, as Ken, of course, sort of steals away in her car and joins her. And it is a combination of Barbie learning what it is that her like role actually represents, and then I think Mattel trying to get it back under wraps because she ends up in like the real world kind of thing. It's like Enchanted, I
I
want to
was about to
say,
say it's a fucking Barbie isekai.
but without it being like fairy tales, it's like actual Barbie ends up in the real world.
I really hope she doesn't meet the sex doll version. Wow. That is just it sounds awful, but at the same time, like from what I've seen in these trailers, they're going to put their fucking heart into that. Oppenheimer.
Helen Mirren narrates the Barbie movie,
Yes.
which, like, if you didn't need one more reason, it's just like I'm skimming through this. I haven't seen these promotional shots. They have not a single picture from the movie itself. It's just a bunch of pictures of the various cast people as like, yep, this one's Barbie, this one's Ken, this is another Ken, this one's Ken, this one's the Mattel. This is Barbie, this is Barbie, this is Barbie. It's just again and again and again until you get to the end here, and it's just like Helen Mirren as the narrator, Dua Lipa as the Barbie mermaid. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
I like to think all of us have a little bit of Barbie and Ken inside of us. You know, when those movies come out here, like 2 weeks, I'm already rebranding the show the Two Ken Show.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just hope that both Barbie and Oppenheimer aren't bad, right?
Yeah.
I think that would be the most disappointing thing is if they come out and it's just fine.
I really want this to be like a real clash, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because Oppenheimer, obviously, it's coming with nukes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so tonally different.
It is the Doom 2020 versus Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Yes. I'm very curious to see Robert Downey Jr.'s character in Oppenheimer, though.
Oh, I was really hoping you were going to say Robert Downey Jr.'s character in Barbie.
Oh no, that would be amazing. But no, he's in Oppenheimer, and I don't think I've seen him do anything. At least I've not seen it since the end of Avengers. He was in Doolittle,
I was
which
about to
was
say,
terrible.
yeah.
There's a Sherlock Holmes movie that is eventually gonna happen, I
We've made
guess. But it's been just like all Marvel for a very long time.
we've been making fun of that missing Sherlock Holmes movie ever since the show started.
Mm-hmm. It's still listed for 2023.
Any day
Dane
now.
DeHaan is an. This is the thing that is crazy to me with some of these casts. It's just like so many fucking people are in these now, and you literally can't fit them all in the trailers. Josh Peck is in fucking Oppenheimer, apparently. Why? I don't know.
Drake, where's
There's
the nuke
so many
go?
fucking people. Okay, Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., Kenneth Branagh, Florence Pugh, Gary Oldman, Rami Malek, Dane DeHaan, Jason Clark, Josh Peck, Jack Quaid, David Dastmalchian, I guess, for some fucking reason. Crazy. I have more confidence in this being a Christopher Nolan thing that it's not going to suck that much.
Can't wait for the reviews. Barbie cinematic masterpiece. Oppenheimer drops the bomb. No, Oppenheimer bombs at the box office.
Yeah. I'm curious. Oh, Greta Gerwig. Okay, Greta Gerwig's fine. I know her name, right? That's more than I can say for most directors.
Yeah.
So,
What has she done?
all right, I missed it. Where did it go? I literally just closed it. Um, off the top of my head, I don't know, but I do
Lady
know that I've
Bird,
seen
Little
her
Women,
do it.
Nights and Weekends, and Barbie.
Isle. She was in Isle of Dogs as
Okay.
a voice.
Okay. That's street cred.
Yeah, wild. I'm just skimming the like coming soon list here. Apparently, they're making. Have you heard of? uh the French children's show Ladybug?
No.
It is a animated French children's show set in Paris with like a generic superhero that dresses up like a ladybug, and they're apparently making a full length movie out of it. It's getting a wide release.
Okay.
It's like kind of like on the, from what I understand, on like the level of Bluey, where it started off as very local, but it has gotten to be bigger once people found out about it and started to like actually give a shit.
Mm.
It's a Netflix only one though, so who cares?
Netflix subscribers, all 5 of them.
All 5 of them. Um, Getting back to movies from this week though, because there's like 4 more somehow. 2 animated ones. We're getting this big glut of like children's animation over the summer here, which is not too surprising, but
They're
kind of weird that
following the
there's so
Spider-Verse
many.
hype.
Yeah, Spider-Verse, Elemental. Uh, Big 2 this week are Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken from Universal and DreamWorks. It is doing fine. I don't think there's
Yay.
much more that needs to be said about it past that. Better, but too much for better animated features to stand it. Oh, apparently it's a sequel to something. Oh no, it's just stand as a true original. Got it. Yeah, it's fine.
Woo.
Better than your average kids pick. Yep. I'd rather watch this than the fucking Animals with Jobs movie from like whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
No, there's a million
Secret
animal.
Secret Life of Pets.
Okay.
It's better than Secret Life of Pets. The bar is low, but they've cleared it.
You see, it scares me when you start saying animals with jobs because that's a lot of movies.
Yeah, I could have been a bit clearer.
Yeah, you could have. You got me scared, buddy.
The other big animated thing that's doing much better, Netflix only, but Nimona.
Yes. Del Toro retweeted a tweet from that, so I assume it's good.
Interesting. It's a collaboration between Toei and Sony Pictures Animation,
Okay.
which makes sense. It definitely has that sort of, you know, visual style to it. You can tell that what teams would have worked on it. So yeah, a knight in a futuristic medieval world, framed for a crime he didn't commit, is forced to rely on Nimona, a mischievous teen, to help him clear his name. With the entire kingdom out to get him, Nimona's the best sidekick Ballister can hope for, and as the line between heroes, villains, and monsters start to blur, the two set out to clear his name once and for all, and for Nimona to just wreak some serious havoc. But it's got like, I mean, it sounds really generic, and it kind of looks pretty generic in the trailers, but it's got a 94%, so I mean, it must be doing something right.
I mean, I'm of the opinion with a lot of things lately that it doesn't really matter how generic the idea is as much as it's about the execution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What could have been a generic piece of standard Netflix fare in less skillful hands ends up being a nuanced story of belonging that's slightly less cliche ridden than you might expect.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. Neat. Also releasing this weekend is Joyride, possibly the first good comedy of the year.
You sure about that, bud?
No, but I'd have to go skim the list to see what else is actually released. Because I couldn't tell you one.
Honestly, I can't think of a single thing either.
Yeah, there's lots of like, you know, catchphrasey, actiony movies that are, you know, have funny moments, but I don't think there's another one that's like genre comedy. That's it. That has even really made waves, let alone been good. Says the story of identity and self-discovery. Friends embark on a once-in-a-lifetime international adventure. Yeah, that's kind of it. All of them have very distinct personalities that clash and or work together depending on when the script needs it to, kind of stuff. But it's apparently good, right? Like comedies don't have to be that complicated. From what I understand, it's not in here of like the one trailer I've seen for it. The gist is that their like passports get stolen and they're stuck in Korea or something like that, or China, and they have to try and figure out how to get home working together when they have to, get put into these kind of crazy situations where, they get around not having ID on them.
Mm, okay.
So, yeah.
When was the?
Uh,
Oh, sorry.
91% apparently. So they're doing something right.
Question for you about comedies.
Mm-hmm.
What was the last good comedy, in your opinion, that you've seen? Bonus points if
Good
it was in
com.
theaters.
Oh, it definitely wouldn't have been.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, strict comedy, like Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Damn. I was
No,
looking for
that's
something like
I'm kind of
chronologically recent.
yeah. No, I know. I'm joking. I genuinely don't know. I'd have to like really think on it. It's not a genre that I go out of my way to watch, particularly with newer stuff.
Yeah, like a lot of comedy, I feel is hard to make profitable
Mm,
because like it's so subjective, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of these big studio comedies come out so generic and bland. They're very milquetoast, and I
Hmm.
haven't laughed at one of those in a very long time.
I'll say the biggest problem for me is that if I'm in the mood where I want to go and watch like an hour of something that is strictly funny, YouTube is way cheaper.
You're right. And it's more specialized, less
Hmm.
appointment based.
Yeah. Less commitment because you're watching a bunch of shorter stuff rather than one long thing.
You have Max, right?
I do. Yeah.
If you're ever bored, I recommend watching Mr. Show.
Okay.
It's basically American Monty Python.
Hmm.
Yeah. Bob Odenkirk and David Cross are in it. It is very good, and it also taught me that the SpongeBob takes a lot of inspiration from that.
Interesting.
You know the old like, "Hey Patrick, what's funnier than 25" birthday cake that everybody fucking gets? I'm sorry,
Hmm.
yeah, that's a reference to Mr. Show, and I never knew that.
Interesting.
Yeah. That being said, everybody, go watch Mr. Show.
I will say though, I feel like that's kind of emblematic of what I meant when I said the Monty Python and Search for the Holy Grail is that that feels to me like where comedy and film kind of peaked was
Yeah.
in like the 80s and 90s and earlier, where it's just like, yeah, you can do comedy now, but why? It's been done.
Well,
I'd
I
rather
think.
watch Monty Python for the 15th time than commit to something new.
Well, then you also get all these comedians afraid of being canceled when it's like you don't have to be afraid of getting canceled if you just don't be a shitty person about it.
Yep,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Last film to go through is one that I've actually been keeping like kind of a side eye on, Biosphere. And I guess this could technically be the first like more strict comedy that I actually see in a while, partly because it's got like sci-fi elements in it, but it is a literal two-man show where there's two guys played by Sterling K. Brown and Mark Duplass in a, literal biosphere after the end of the world, just trying to get by and live and exist in this new world that they're stuck in inside this little biodome thing.
So you say Biosphere, and I
Yep.
am giving PTSD to the worst movie I've ever fucking seen. One of the worst movies.
What's that?
Biodome.
I've heard other people say the same. Oh, 1996.
Yes,
Oh
Pauly
yeah, yeah.
Shore.
Pauly Shore. Yes, I have heard of this.
It is awful.
It's a 4% on Rotten Tomatoes.
There's nothing in the world I hate more than fucking Pauly Shore. It is honestly probably top 5 worst movies I've ever seen. Right there.
That's hilarious. There's one positive review from this, and it has no text, and it's only a 3 out of 5. It's good for one reason. It killed Pauly Shore's career. They're not wrong.
Oh my god, that movie sucks. I've seen it once my whole life, right? But is the kind of bad that like sits in your mind and makes
Hmm.
room in your subconscious. The kind of thing that inspires like primal human fear in me, where I can still hear Pauly Shore's lines from the fucking movie.
It's a 1% on TV guide.
Oh, it's so bad, man.
That's amazing. Oh no, sorry, it's a 1 on Metacritic.
How much do you want to bet they wanted to
Oh
make
wow.
Biosphere Biodome, but they didn't want to associate it with the Pauly Shore movie?
I don't know. Maybe. For this being a relatively small production, I would imagine they're probably not too concerned. Like one of the main leads in it is one of the screenwriters. It's a pretty tight ship.
Okay, fair enough.
It's like, because do you know Mark Duplass?
No, I do not.
He's got the kind of face. He was in Zero Dark 30. Just gonna skim through here because it's the kind of thing that's just like, oh yeah, I recognize your face from a bunch of smaller stuff. Um, but he is like, what is it? He's executive producing, screenwriting, and one of the two actors involved in it. And on the other side of it is Mel Islen, who is producer, the other only screenwriter and director.
Hmm.
So it's a very, it's a one set thing, right? They have one room that the whole movie happens in. And it's, I guess, if it doesn't have that good screenwriting and the good script, it's not going to get too far. But yeah, it seems interesting. I'm glad to see that it's getting positive reviews. It's probably going to push me to go see it at some point, just because it's just like, yeah, interesting idea. I think that's actually all we have for like new movie releases.
Damn. I just realized the reason there's so many movie releases because we're in the middle of fucking summer and summer
Mm-hmm.
blockbuster season.
Oh yes.
I feel like a dumbass right now.
But I'll say though, like last year was mostly out of COVID. Excuse me, and both the quality and quantity of movies was still substantially down at that point. So we are definitely in summer, but it could be worse.
Could be. So, awkward thing to let everybody know. Supreme Court pulled a coward move and said no to student loans being
Mm-hmm.
paid reduced on 4th of fucking July.
One of the pieces of information that I have that I hate that I know it now is the idea of releasing bad news on a Friday night
Yeah, isn't that so weird?
because you start to see it fucking everywhere, and it's probably mostly true.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it's a coincidence that the Supreme Court announced both that as well as a major erosion of not just trans rights, but like it's hard to like go through it. They released like three major decisions on the Friday night before the long weekend that is the 4th of fucking July. So they knew what they're doing, and it's kind of scummy. But that is our current Supreme Court makeup to a T.
Yeah, gotta love the Supreme Court. How long do we have to deal with them?
Too long.
I mean, they obviously got to get voted out eventually, right?
Hmm. I wish.
Right, Kyril?
Unfortunately, no.
Kyril, please.
It's a lose lose situation, right? Because Supreme Court justices are assigned for life, and we saw the obvious problem with that, with the hubris that instills in them with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, as well as the cudgel that gets held over when these positions open and the politics of the courts start to get involved. Um, but at the same time, there's talk amongst the both liberal and conservative groups about like, oh, you just expand the Supreme Court. And the shitty thing is that like from a principled position, you shouldn't do it, right?
Yeah.
Expanding the court ethically is, I think, wrong. But you also have the knowledge that if you don't do it, the other guys absolutely will as soon as it becomes convenient for them to. So what do you do?
You give them terms.
Oh, for sure, but that would require an amendment to the Constitution, which is never happening in our lifetime.
Isn't it weird how we're like the span of lifetime where the Constitution is probably going to be like the same from like
Mm-hmm.
our births to our deaths?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
that's frustrating.
Yeah. Because like the whole point of the amendment system is to prevent shit like this from happening.
Mm-hmm. And impeachment.
Yeah.
Like the conduct of the Supreme Court should be absolutely impeachable, and not just the Supreme Court, but all up and down the court system. We're seeing this with the bullshit going on with like we joked about the Kraken lawsuit, but it's real that this shit is happening, and there is no effective, quick means of either punishing or even just stopping the flow of bullshit legal cases from just spewing out of every which way. It's super frustrating.
The whole court system in America is always just as I get older, as I work in insurance now and I have to deal with like
Mm-hmm.
liability stuff and like a lot of
Mm.
that legal shit, it occurs to me that our legal system is never been meant for any class but the upper class. And
Yep.
the fact that we have a system like this, which is purely there just to serve as a voice piece for the upper class, even the Supreme Court itself is kind of like a voice piece for that as well. Um, we are like all of us below that are at a severe disadvantage anytime a court comes up.
Yep.
Yeah.
We mentioned it a couple of times in the past, but it is one of the biggest frustrations that I have is with Trump going through all of these court processes and seeing all of the conservative outcry about like how this is unfair, it's ridiculous. Why is he being prosecuted when Biden and Clinton aren't? With the implication being that he should not be prosecuted, where the correct thing is to prosecute all politicians, regardless of political party, when they do bad things.
Yeah.
And I don't, I find it hard to understand what it is that is preventing them from making what feels to me like a really obvious connection. Right. And I guess that's Fox News. That's what 18 hours a day of indoctrination and propaganda gets you.
I really fucking hate it. Fox News, props news.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
I'm not going to pretend like it's not the only thing that is like this in the world because it's not. Like
No.
the problem with it in my eyes is that it is the most effective propaganda tool at the moment because they found an audience that is highly susceptible to it
Yep. And self-selecting.
and self-selecting. You're right. The thing that scares me, and this is the wild thing, right? So like I like to think of mediums with technology as like changing kind of like how we choose to interact with it over time as well. Like you and I,
Mm-hmm.
Carol, Zoomers that we are, right?
Yep. Yep.
We fucking go to streaming and YouTube. YouTube is free entertainment and it's on demand, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't have
For
much of
sure.
a budget to it unless you're watching like something like fucking Mr. Beast or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the big
Even
thing,
then, it's a completely different scale.
yes, exactly. For these kind of things, YouTube, especially on demand, personable, almost parasocial content, depending on your relationship, your parasocial relationship with the creator,
Mm-hmm.
it is always us approaching the content. Whereas what scares me about like the full propagated like world of Fox News is that it's appointment television. Like, I have to get home at 7 to watch Carlson rant about, blah, 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 blah. It's an appointment television. And that takes more effort to keep an appointment with just your fucking television set. We keep appointments with our fucking doctors, those are professionals. So, in a way, we're still keeping like this relationship with television by going to appointment television. Streaming, I really appreciate, has destroyed that for our generation, but it just shows me how much of a hold this kind of shit has when you still go to like appointment television, or I need to turn this on at this time to watch this show. And that is like partially where I think a lot of the grip of this propagandizing machine that we call Fox News comes from.
Hmm.
I was about to say, did I lose you?
No, no, I'm just yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Not
you.
much, not much to add.
Thank you. It's really turned a lot of stuff like streaming television, like on Max or like Netflix or something like that, into like reading a book. Because like that, you
Hmm.
take a separate point
Yeah.
aside and do it as like an activity on your own time. I don't know. I don't know. Fucking here I am with my media degree in mass communications, and I don't fucking know.
It fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's really annoying. Damn you, McLuhan! You didn't teach us fast enough. It's 3:11. I thought you had to go at 3:30.
I do.
Okay, so let me continue my bass solo, ladies and gentlemen. No. Anything you would like for the show to end on a highlight, Mr. Cairo?
No, I don't know. Not this week. For all considered, there's been a lot of shit, but I'm just trying to, just vibe a bit, relax.
Yeah, you really have to
So
vibe.
I'm not gonna get too worked up this week. I'll be angry later. There's
Okay.
there's plenty of time.
Yeah, we're young.
I'll outlive those bastards on the Supreme Court regardless.
I'm Neef Miss Orion, and I will eventually be a Ken doll.
I'm Kyril, and I am a Ken doll.
And this is the the Two Ken Show.